Imagine holding a quarter that is worth 16 to 20 times its face value. Well, that is exactly what many pre-1965 Washington quarters offer today. Struck in 90% pure silver, these iconic coins from 1932 to 1964 represent a fascinating chapter in American history and numismatics. But why did America introduce a new quarter in 1932, right in the depths of the Great Depression? The Washington quarter was never intended to be a long-running series. Its creation was tied to a specific event, the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth in 1932. The original plan was to create a one-year commemorative half-dollar to mark the occasion. However, Congress decided to replace the standing Liberty quarter instead, believing a 25-cent piece would circulate more widely and be a more fitting tribute. The standing Liberty design, while beautiful, was by the 1930s often struck weakly and was less practical for everyday use. The plan was still for it to be a single-year issue for 1932 only. To select a design, the U.S. Commission of Fine Arts held a competition. The overwhelming winner, chosen by the Bicentennial Committee and the Commission, was a powerful and modern design by Laura Garden Fraser, a celebrated female sculptor. However, in a move that remains controversial to this day, Treasury Secretary Andrew Mellon personally rejected the Commission's choice. He overruled their decision and selected a design submitted by sculptor John Flanagan instead. John Flanagan, the chosen artist, was a former assistant to the legendary Augustus St. Gaudens. For his portrait, Flanagan drew inspiration from what is considered the most accurate likeness of Washington ever created, the 1786 life mask bust by French sculptor Jean-Antoine Houdon. By basing his design on this famous sculpture, Flanagan created a portrait that was not just artistic, but also historically authentic and instantly recognizable to the American public. The obverse design Flanagan created is the one we still know today. It features a strong, left-facing bust of George Washington. The word liberty is inscribed above his head. "In God we trust" is to his left, and the date is placed prominently below. This design marked a significant shift in American coinage. Instead of an allegorical figure like Lady Liberty, a real, historical American leader was now featured on a circulating coin, a practice previously reserved for the Lincoln cent. The reverse is just as iconic. It features a modern Art Deco-style heraldic eagle with its wings spread wide, perched on a bundle of arrows. An olive branch is woven below the arrows. Above the eagle are the inscriptions United States of America and E Pluribus Unum, with a denomination $quarter below. Flanagan motifs may have stirred debate among some critics at the time, but the bust of Washington instantly won hearts, proving stately, recognizable, and ready-made for national pride. The very first year of issue created the two biggest key dates of the entire silver series. Because the coins were minted during the worst year of the Great Depression, demand for new currency was incredibly low. As a result, both the Denver and San Francisco mints produced very small quantities. The 1932 D had a mintage of just 436,800, and the 1932S had an even lower mintage of only 408,000. These are the holy grails for Washington quarter collectors, and are valuable in any condition. Curiously, there were no Washington quarters minted at all in 1933, as the Treasury determined there was already enough coinage in circulation due to the Great Depression. Production resumed in 1934, and continued steadily every year thereafter. The coin was so popular that when 1933 rolled around, there was a public call to bring it back. In 1934, Congress passed a law making Flanagan design the new permanent standard for the quarter, cementing its place in history. While the 1932 issues are the most famous, the series contains many other challenging coins. Throughout the 1930s, mintages remained relatively low, especially at the branch mints. Dates like the 1934 D, 1935 D, and 1936 D are considered semi-key dates. Furthermore, many Philadelphia minted coins from the 1940s and 50s, while having high mintages, are surprisingly difficult to find in pristine, gem-uncirculated condition, making them condition rarities. For the detail-oriented collector, the Washington Quarter Series is full of fascinating and valuable varieties. The most famous include the 1937 double die obverse DDO, where you can see clear doubling in the motto and date. Others include the 1942 D and 1943 double die obverse, and the popular 1950 D/S and S/D overmint marks OMMs, with a mint in either Denver or San Francisco punch its mint mark directly over the other mint's mark. If you want to search for these key dates and varieties, you need to know where to find the mint mark. On all silver Washington quarters from 1932 to 1964, the mint mark is located on the reverse of the coin. You can find it on the bottom, centered directly below the olive wreath that the eagle is perched on. A-D stand for the Denver Mint, and an S for the San Francisco Mint. If there is no mint mark, it was made in Philadelphia. When determining condition or grade of a silver Washington quarter, the key area to inspect is the obverse. The highest points of the design were down first. Specifically, you want to look at the fine details in Washington's hair, particularly the lines above his ear. On a heavily worn coin, this area will be completely flat. On a coin in high-grade or uncirculated condition, these hair lines will be sharp and distinct. Also observe the eagle's breast feathers and the olive leaves on the reverse, as weak strikes are common in some issues, particularly from 1934 to 1939. For type collectors, the 1936 to 1942 and 1950 to 1964 proof issues are miniature masterpieces. The cameo proofs with frosty devices against mirror fields are particularly stunning and desirable. By the early 1960s, however, rising silver prices put pressure on U.S. coinage. Hoarding became common as silver's value threatened to exceed the coin's face value. Finally, in 1965, the Treasury made a decisive switch. Quarters would henceforth be made of copper-nickel-clad composition, ending more than 30 years of silver quarters. 1964 marked the final year for the 90% silver quarter. To combat the coin shortage and discourage hoarding of the last year, the U.S. Mint produced a staggering number of 1964 dated quarters, well over 1 billion. They even continued striking 1964 dated quarters well into 1965 to flood the market. This is why the 1964 quarter is by far the most common date in the entire series. With the passage of the Coinage Act of 1965, all silver was officially removed from circulating dimes and quarters. Today, the silver Washington quarter is collected in two main ways. Numismatists strive to build complete sets, hunting down every date and mint mark in the highest grade they can afford. The other group, known as stackers, accumulates these coins for their silver content because they contain 90% pure silver. They are a popular way to invest in precious metals. They are often referred to as junk silver, not because they are junk, but because their value is tied to their metal content rather than their numismatic condition. If you are building a collection, remember to always handle coins by the edges. Store them in archival quality holders and avoid PVC flips that can damage surfaces. Proper care preserves value for generations. So, from a controversial one-year commemorative to the face of America's 25-cent piece for nearly a century, the Washington Quarter has had an incredible journey. You have now discovered why these silver icons are more than just old change. They are tangible pieces of history, ringing with legacy every time they clink. What is your favorite silver Washington Quarter key date or variety? Do you have a prized 1932 or a beautifully toned example? Share your stories in the comments below. If you enjoyed this silver quarter deep dive, please like this video, subscribe for more coin content, and hit the notification bell so you do not miss our next video. Until next time, happy collecting.